Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Norman from Sportshed TV here, and I'm joined with BKR Sport, and we're going to go through the ladder of last year, and we're going to kind of see whether we think teams are going to go higher or lower on the ladder for the next season, the 2023 NRL season. Welcome, BKR. How's it going?
Thank you very much for having me on, man. Super keen for this one because obviously the rugby league season is getting underway. I've been fully invested into the rugby league mindset coming up, and obviously we've got the charity match, which is going to be exciting. So, no, keen to be on here and keen to go through and obviously put Titans in first place.
Yeah, we're super keen for the charity match. I'm super keen for Roosters to win the comp again. I mean, last time we signed a Melbourne Storm player, we went back to back, so
Here
hopefully
we
the
go.
signing of
Here
Brandon
we
Smith
go.
there. But I can't disappoint Josh or Adrian too much. We might have to speak, positive about Manly and Dogs. We'll see how it goes. But I was
Oh, I
thinking
don't know how positive we're going to be speaking about Manly.
it'll be
Don't
tough.
know right
We'll
now.
try our
Yeah.
best. But we'll start with top to bottom. How does that sound?
Yeah, too easy, man. So just obviously for everyone out there who might not exactly know exactly what we're doing, we're going higher or lower based on the teams and but from their 2022 ladder. And yeah, keen to go, man.
All right, perfect. So we'll display the ladder on the screen. We've got Penrith Panthers. Obviously, they went back to back. They finished first, minor premiers again. Where do you see them going, higher or lower next year? Or obviously staying the same because you can't go higher than that.
Yeah, I think that for me, man, I'd probably go. I actually am going to go lower, and it's not going to be a great deal lower. It's probably going to be, if for me, maybe two, three at minimum. But I just don't know necessarily if they've got the same hunger in them for a three-peat. And I think there are real hungry teams that are coming. So for me, I'd probably go Panthers in lower, but not by too much for all the Panthers out there who might, get upset at me saying lower.
Yeah, Penrith Panthers, I've got them lower as well for a similar reason. Also, they've had two very long seasons with obviously a lot of players representing an Origin both years and then World Cup at the end of last year. It's so hard to do it 3 years in a row, obviously, to not only to win the premiership but to finish that high up on the ladder. I also think Kickout is a big loss, but Coruscant, I
Mm-hmm.
rated him as like the best hooker last year in the comp. So losing him, I'm sure they'll find a way to replace him, but not 100%, not in the first season
Well,
at least.
their hooker is the hooker they're going is with Mitch Kenny, who is kind of their hooker and also bench when Coruscant was there. But overall, like the main guy was Coruscant, and he's going to be so integral. Maybe Sonny Luke gets it, I don't know, but overall, I think the hooker department really has lessened. Yeah.
It has for sure. So I've got them finishing lower, like you said, not definitely not outside the top four at all. Probably second or third. The next up, we'll go with the Cronulla Sharks. I think we'll take turns who starts. I'm happy to start with the Sharks and say that they'll finish lower than second place. I think they had a great season last season, but I just think there are a couple of teams who are really pushing it. Going into the 2023 season, that I think the Sharks will probably. I'm happy to say that they'll finish in the top four, probably fourth, but I don't think they'll finish as high as second, especially if I've got the Penrith Panthers dropping by one. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one for me because the Sharks really surprised me in how high they finished last year. However, they were a bit of the flat track bully in 2022 where they did beat the lower teams and kind of struggled against the better teams, especially when they got into those finals. I will go lower. Uh, I could see them all the way down in sixth. I don't believe I could see them lower than that, but I could also see them. I could also see them coming exactly where they are. I don't know about first position because I do have a better team. They'll probably go there, but overall, I think they've got a ceiling of first and lower six. I'm going to probably back in a little bit more that the team just doesn't feel like it's all connected for me just at the moment. I think the Sharks are on the right track, but I don't know. I don't know if they've just got it just yet.
Yeah, not too sure about the Sharks, but I mean, I guess we agree. The Cowboys had a great season. A lot of people tipped them to finish in the bottom four. I had them finishing in the bottom eight. They ended up finishing third. Um,
I had them finishing last.
there you go. Crazy season. Finished third. I've got a bit of a soft spot for North Queensland Cowboys. I'm not sure about you, considering you're from Queensland. I'm keen to get your thoughts on that. But I spent some time in North Queensland, Cowboys territory, and spent some time with local schools there and footy teams there. So I like the way they all back the team, and everyone loves JT up there. So I love my time there, and I've got a soft spot for them. I'm happy to say that I'll finish the same spot. I think they will finish third. I don't see them if they finish lower, it'd be fourth. I don't see them outside the top four. They've got a really easy draw compared to a lot of other teams, and they show promising signs last year. That they're really building on things. I think that Hammer's not that big of a loss that people are making him out to be. I mean, we're going to go through in another video, gains and losses and things like that. But I just feel like they've got a good team. They've got a perfect balance, and I'm keen to see them finish third. What about you?
Yeah, no, I have no problem with the Cowboys at all. I'm obviously a Titans fan, but there's no rivalry with the Cowboys. Realistically, it's just the Muppets from Brisbane and the Wish version of the Gold Coast that we have a rivalry with. I really don't have a problem with the Cowboys, but for me, I'm probably the only reason I'm going to say lower here is because I believe they're a 4-5 specialist this season. I think there'll be that one tinkering between the two, because usually you find with the 4 and 5 they do switch around quite dramatically, especially late on in the year. And I think the Cowboys. I am very, very nervous that a second year syndrome can kind of happen, and it was just a bit of a flush in the pan. But the more team makers I do over on BKR Sport, the more I look at their team, and it just is a good team, and it does seem like it'll go again. I do have my hesitancies. I'll say lower, but by only 1 or 2 spots, man. If that, they definitely will be at least competing for the top 4 for sure.
There we go. Perfect. Next up, Parramatta Eels obviously made it all the way to the grand final. Got their pants pulled down by Penrith. They had a decent season, finished 4th. Where do you see them? Where do you see them going, higher or lower?
It's a funny one with Parramatta because most of their team is still pretty much the same. Like they do lose Reed Marnie in the 9 position and Isaiah Papali'i, but aside of that, their entire team is still pretty much the same. Obviously, the halfback situation with Moses is still up in the air as when we're filming this, that we don't know where he's signing. But overall, I think that they're probably going to, and this is crazy, because the first top 4 I have said lower, but with that being said, not a dramatic amount for the 3 teams beforehand. I would go lower here. I am nervous that maybe, usually you find with some grand final teams, when they get flogged, man, they find it very difficult to return. We see that with the AFL a lot, and I just feel like when there's a heartbreaking situation or a big loss, it takes a couple of years to kind of get back into it. And for me, I think the Eels might just take a little bit of time to recover from, such a heartbreaking build up to the grand final and then loss. So yeah, look, there's a chance they miss the 8, but they also probably still should make the 8.
Yep, no, exactly right. I think the only time we saw that heartbreak theory reverse was back when Manly got dished up by Melbourne Storm and then pumped them the following year and broke the record. That was incredible, and I don't think we've seen
40-0, yeah.
And probably won't see something like that ever again. So that was incredible. And you make a great point with Parramatta. I've got them finishing much lower than 4th. I'm not going to say they're going to finish outside the 8. It's not a ladder prediction, but I do see them finishing a lot lower than 4th. Reed Marnie and Papali'i, it's only 2 losses, right? But they were 2 of their best 3 players last year. I've got Marnie, Papali'i, and probably Sean Lane and Dylan Brown equal as their top 3 players last year, in my opinion. And just massive, massive losses. The heartbreak of last year. A few teams who I think will do better than them, including the team we're about to talk about next, the Melbourne Storm. So I've got them finishing lower. I want you to start with the Melbourne Storm, though. Do you see them finishing in the top 4?
I feel like they'll finish higher, yeah, but I will also put a hesitancy on the fact that their spine is the best spine of the comp, but their players in between are a little bit weaker, especially in their back line. And I think the forward line as well. They've got Tarek Sims coming from the Dragons, who probably does well. I like Tarek Sims, but overall their back row is a potential. Could be good, and their lock is bang on average. They lose Brandon Smith, which was a really good to and fro there. Also, Love going to be a lock as well. But their spine is just so fantastic that I do think they'll push them into the top 4. However, I am nervous about the fact that their minimalistic players outside of the spine just aren't up to the same level.
Yeah, I agree about that last point there. And that's why I feel like I've got them staying the same. Although Melbourne Storm, we're so used to seeing them as a top 4 side. You saw with injuries to their spine last year how they didn't quite click, which is quite understandable. I'm just not sure if they play, almost every game or maybe 90% of matches together, the spine, they'll come into the top 4. But if not, I don't see them finishing in the top 4. And it's also because of the players they've lost. I mean, they've lost the Bromwich boys. They've lost Kafusi, Brandon Smith. Like, that's a lot of, basically all their starters in the forward pack gone. I mean, it's a lot of experience lost. They do get Tarek Sims, but it takes time to mold him into the system. So I don't feel like one player is going to drastically lift them up. I've got them staying the same, which might not be a bad thing because they might click by the end of the year and have a great finals run. Next up, we've got Sydney Roosters finishing 6th. My team, obviously slightly biased, but I don't see us finishing 6th or lower. I think we've got a better team next year if we start the year injury-free, and hopefully we don't get, 2 ACL injuries a match every 6 or 7 matches. I think we'll be fine. Personally, really happy with the signings, the depth, the way the boys played at the end of the year. Sam Walker at 7 and Kiri at 6 changed a lot of things for the Roosters last year. And that's why, in the last 10 weeks, the boys won 8 games. So if we stay on that trajectory, I think we'll finish in the top 4. So I'm going to say higher for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because the Roosters, I definitely know putting them lower. No way. They're either higher or the same. I think if I'm going to go higher, it's only by a couple of spots. I just think that there's a few teams above them that I don't know. I really like going to this year, and I guess I'm a little bit down on the Roosters because I was so hyped on the Roosters coming into last year. I was, and then they disappointed, and then I still backed them in to get into the finals when everyone had them out, and they did get the finals,
Yeah.
but then they just kind of fell apart. And I don't know. I'm still trying to recover from that mentally, from
Imagine
completely
me.
going in on. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, but yeah, well, imagine you. Let's wait till we get to the Titans in regards to mental health issues. But yeah, look, overall, like the Roosters, they probably should go higher. I will go higher because they do have the ability to go higher. But there is still a possibility that they finish exactly where they are as well, because they are a club that does go through quite a few injuries, and we've already seen a big one to Connor Watson already. So, and Brandon Smith may not necessarily work out. Like obviously, I touch wood, everything. There's no wood here, but touch my forehead.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
yeah, touch it for us that no injuries happen. However, I just don't necessarily. I believe that Brand Smith's a 13. I've always maintained that. Look, good luck to him in 9. I wish the best of luck to him. I'm just not a big believer in him as an 80-minute hooker.
Yeah, I prefer him at 13 too, believe it or not. Even though he was signed as a 9, I'm so excited to have him. I'd love him at 13 and just him and Radley swapping out for each other, spending time playing in prop position. Because the Roosters do that. They tend to move back rowers, forwards, everything. They rotate it a bit. It's not as consistent as what other clubs have it, but it's fine. I guess it works out for us. And we saw that at the back end of last year. And just have Connor Watson at 9 and switch him with maybe Jake Turpin since we got him. But obviously he's injured. We'll see how it goes. I
Absolutely.
could spend 10 years talking about the Roosters. So I guess we'll move on to Rabbitohs, probably most definitely my least favorite team. I'll say though, they'll be up there for sure. South Sydney will not finish seventh or lower. What they did in their first season without Wayne Bennett in charge was fantastic. Lachlan Ilias has come on the scene. Didn't play that good in the first half of the season, but drastically improved. And at the end, he was one of the better halves in the comp, believe it or not. Um, I think they're fine. I don't think they're in a bad position at all. I think they're on the way up. Especially re-signing Latrell, Cody Walker. I think there's a bit more consistency and answers around the team and the squad. I've got them finishing higher than seventh.
Yeah, it's easy for me high. They're definitely high. I think this is going to be a run that they're going to look at to potentially win the premiership with Trell Mitt. I love Lachlan Ilias. I think he came into his own halfway through the year. With the fact that he was pretty average at the beginning, but that was as a rookie, and then he comes in and Cody Walker, they start linking up a little bit more. Damien Cook there, he needs to have a huge year because he's been down the last couple of years. And I think their forward pack's great, and I think their backline's fine too. Backline's a bit inexperienced with maybe Tuss and Thompson, but overall, they'll be higher, and it's going to be the Trell Mitt show, baby. It's going to be the Trell Mitt show.
Hopefully not, but they will finish higher. The Canberra Raiders, I've got them finishing lower. It's
Mm.
simple. I don't have much belief in their team at all. I think they lost Ryan Sutton, Adam Elliott. I just don't see just those two plays in itself. I think they really held the forward pack and were quite underrated. I don't see them finishing eighth when there are teams below them that I think have,
Oh man, there's so many teams coming, eh? Like there's
so
so
many,
many teams coming for their throat.
and they held on there by what was it? One
The
point.
last game, pretty much. It was pretty much the last game it came down to, yeah.
Yeah, by one point. So no, I've got no confidence in them staying in the eight.
Yeah, I've got them lower, and I think that's because I've got about 14 teams that I could make a argument for that could make the top 8 this year. Yeah, there's quite a few teams that have improved, and look, the Rays have a good forward pack. They do really good forward pack, but not the biggest believer in Jamal Fogarty. I think he's a bare, basic, do the job, which we spoke about in the tier maker that we did for the halfback section on my channel. Um, I think that they're just a bit of a. I don't see a great deal. I don't see a great deal about them. No, I really don't. So no, for me, I've got them lower. Not a crazy deal lower though. I still think they'll be very competitive, but I don't believe them going into this year. No,
Okay, yep, I agree. Can't complain there. Brisbane Broncos. I've got them
Muppets.
finishing around the same or lower. Somewhere between. They're definitely not high. I don't see them making the eight. A lot of people are hyping them up. I don't see it. I feel like there's real bad communication between the players and the coach. I don't think Kevy's the right person for the job, and neither do a couple of his players. But we won't get into that. I just think the club's going downhill, and it's not looking good for them. I also think Payne Haas. I don't think he'll play as many minutes or as many games as well. I don't. I don't see the Broncos being as competitive as what people think they'll be.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see them making the top eight next year, but in the same sense, people are going to come out and say, "Oh, but you don't like the Broncos." That's the reason. No, it's not the reason. The reason is because you choked away a top five spot, a top four spot with 5 weeks to go last season.
Yeah,
You've got a decent enough team there, but in the same sense, the boys are basically saying that Adam Reynolds is the coach rather than Kevin Walters, which is a huge issue that you've got the coach as the player rather than the coach himself. I think that a lot of minimal areas, 50-50 at the moment. There's a lot of their forwards that everyone hyped up that just haven't really lived up to expectations. Their halves are Reynolds, who is quite injury prone and is getting older now, with Ezra Mam, who is still very, very, fresh and not there just yet. Their nine is an absolute shambles. And the fullback is a guy who was terrible defensively at his last club, however, has got some hype going into him. And in the recent video that I filmed about breakout players, I've got him as a breakout player to really bounce back. But, there's a lot of question marks about the Broncos. So on a high potential, on a potential of the names on their team sheet, yeah, look, they're a top eight team, but I've got them going not too far lower at all. I don't think they drop too far, but I wouldn't have them in my top eight, no.
yeah. Same here. Not in the top eight for sure. Dragons, I've got them finishing significantly lower. I think finishing 10th was remarkable, and no one's really spoken about that, eh? I think finishing 10th for the Dragons is a really, really good result, but they're finishing much lower. I think that's another club going downhill. No good signings whatsoever. They're lost for direction. Like you don't even know where their spine's playing. You don't even know what their forward pack makeup is. They're in a real tough position, the Dragons. They're going down.
Please. I just want them to rebuild me. I just want the Dragons to go and rebuild me. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind as this club refuses to go into a rebuild. They're going lower, and that's all I'm saying. Buddy, organisations, Muppets, the fans deserve better. The fans deserve better. This is a great club with great history, and they deserve better as fans. And re-signing Ben Hunt is not the definition of blowing the club up and starting it all over again in baseball terms. Blow the club up, start it all over again. They're going lower, and they'll be lucky to avoid the spoon this year. But then again, Ben Hunt does make them at least somewhat competitive. But does he do it again this year? He's older now. Does he go and do it again this year? I'm not too sure, but I've got him lower.
I'm not too sure. Definitely the fans deserve better.
Losing my mind.
The Sea Eagles, the fans deserve better for Manly. They rock up every home game, shitty stadium, and they just turn up. They love their team. They love the Tommy Turbo. But I tell you what, they're finishing lower than 11th, and it's pretty sad. But they're finishing lower than 11th. I apologize to Adrian as well, who watches over and be upset with me. But they can't keep him on the field for long enough, and I'm not impressed by their forward pack either.
Oh, bro. Oh, man. And again, to go over the team makers, I've gone through their four-pack. It is not great, man. It is not fantastic. I've definitely got them lower. My dad's a Manly fan, so, I don't mind them as much as other people do. But overall, yeah, the fans do deserve better. But in the same sense, they've had such a successful history that now is kind of their time where they get to experience how us bottom feeders usually get to feel. So, I don't really necessarily feel a great deal sorry for them overall. But with that being said, yeah, Manly will go down. Their forward pack is underwhelming. Their back line's quite underwhelming. Tomas Trbojevic is incredibly injury prone, and it relies heavily on Josh Schuster, who effectively forced Kieran Foran out of the club to go to my team, the Gold Coast Titans. He effectively forced him out to play that six. He needs to play well in the six. If he doesn't play well in the six, then my God, Manly are going to be in an absolute shambles next year or this year.
They will be. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs made a lot of signings. A lot of people are backing them. Everyone's excited for the Bulldogs, especially if you're a Bulldogs fan. I'm not a Bulldogs fan. Josh is. I'm still excited to see how they go. I've got them finishing higher, but not too much higher. Maybe 11th. I don't think it's their year to make the 8 at all. But I definitely think with the signings they have, there's no way they can finish lower than 12th. And to think that they only got 7 wins last year, I think they can get a couple more, and that's why I've got them higher, but not drastically higher.
I 100% agree in every aspect there, because I've been saying for about 2-3 years now that I believe that the Dogs will make the top 8 in 2024. Everyone on my channel will attest to that. I've always said, Dogs 2024, it's happening. They're on the right track. They're in the right placement. They're going forward. However, new coach and Cameron Ciraldo, their forward line is completely changed up too. Loved what Maxi King, my boy, Maxi King brought last year to the team. The back line is actually still quite underwhelming though. Like there's a lot of rookies there. I'm not a big fan of Jake Averillo. Carl Flanagan, what's going on there? Half of the spine is still pretty shoddy. You got a new Reed Marnie coming to the 9, and you've got a great Matty Burton coming through in the 6, but the 7, Carl Flanagan, and the 1, Jake Averillo, I think you need to sort that one out there before you start to become a really competitive team. But there's going to be some really exciting times in 2023, but there's also going to be some really, really down lows for you Dogs fans. So, yeah, it's going to be very up and down. And look, I don't think they make the eight. I think next year is their year, but they'll be competitive, is what I'll say. So yeah, I'll go up in like 11, 10, maybe even 9. But nothing. I don't have them in my top 8 for the time being. No.
Okay, brilliant. Yep, I can't disagree with you there. Gold Coast Titans, it's your team, so you'll start here.
Number 1, mate. We're going number 1. No, I'm joking. I do genuinely believe we go up, though. I will say that. I know a lot of people obviously don't believe in us, but we've made some really good signings. The whole problem with last season going into the year was the fact that our spine was too young. We had Jaden Campbell, we had Brimdog Millionaire in the 6, we had Toby Sexton in the 7, and we had Aaron Clark, who's not a 9, in the 9. So the whole spine was just a shambles from the outset. Now we've gone and signed Kieran Foran from Manly, a bit of experience there, chuck him into the 5'8" role with either Toby Sexton or Tanner Boyd, who finished off the season fantastically. You know, the 9, Sammy Verrills from the Roosters, you know how good he is. He's actually super underrated, and was actually a big part of why you guys started winning towards the end of last season. You know, and then we've got a really good conundrum with the fact that, you know, AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell there, Aaron Schupp from the Doggies, he comes in as well. Yeah, look, I really like our 4-pack on paper. Our 4-pack on paper is a top 3 4-pack in the league. I don't want to hear it. You know, Moeki Fotuaika, Tina Faisal Malawi, Bo Firma, Dave Fafita, and Aaron Clark. That's a great 4-pack. It just didn't work out last season. So I'm going up. I can see us in the 8. I'm going to say that. But I could also see us just missing the 8, but I think we'll be a lot more competitive in 2023, yeah.
Yeah, so the Gold Coast Titans, they finished 13th. They might finish around 13th again, but I've got them finishing high if they get their spine in place. You mentioned the spine. I love Aaron Clark at 13. I couldn't stand him at 9. I think he played, I don't want to put a number on it. I think it was between maybe 4 and 7 games at 13, even if it was off the bench. And when he was like that, I was like, man, you know, this guy can play. He's better off there. So having Sam Verrills there now, he can play, and then Aaron Clark can play 13. If they put faith in Sexton and let him run the show at 7, you know, I reckon David Fafita will have a good year. It's his contract year, so he's got to play better than last year. I don't think he played that bad last year, but I know he can play better football. So I've got them finishing higher. If everything goes well for them, they'll finish higher.
Boys.
There you go. Newcastle Knights, they finished 14th. 14th is third last. It will be fourth last this year when the Dolphins arrive. Look, it's going to be tough for them. Getting Adam Elliott and Jackson Hastings, I rate those 2 players. So I can see them finishing higher, but Ponga at 6 doesn't look too good. And look, on paper, their team doesn't look like a bottom 4 side on paper. But realistically, they struggle to play together. I've got them finishing in the same position.
I think this is an Adam O'Brien special for getting fired first. I think he's getting the sack first, really. It's hard because, yeah, there is 3 spots that open up now rather than 2 spots. I actually could see them finishing the exact same position. I really could. But with that being said, I could also see Manly and the Dragons dropping below them. I don't see anybody else above them dropping below them. I think that they've been the worst defensive team for a very long time. I know the Tigers are minus 327, but they had like a minus 140 or some nonsense when they were in the top 8, when they were 7th place the other year. Titans didn't have a great record either, but it wasn't as bad as that in regards to points differential. And again, they were minus 290 last season too, just 2 better than the Warriors. If it was 2 points difference, they would have been below the Warriors. That's actually insane, if I'm correct. Yeah, it is differential 290.
Especially considering the start of their season was decent. They beat us in the first round.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So I am going to say I could see them in the exact same spot. I'm not going to say lower because I think there are worse teams in them, but I'll go exact same spot, yeah.
Yeah.
So sideways.
Same here. With the Warriors, I've got them finishing higher. They finished 15th. And when I say higher, I mean 14th, 13th max. Not too much higher. The only thing is they'll actually play home games now. So winning 6 games out of 24 was pretty bad, but I feel like with a couple more home games, or a fair few more home games, surely they get a couple more wins. And I don't think Dragons or Manly, as you mentioned earlier, are going to have a fantastic season. I've got Dragons towards real far down the bottom. Don't want to reveal exact position. So I've got the Warriors finishing higher, and that could be 13th. I don't see them finishing third last.
Yeah, I've probably got them higher. I think the home ground basis is where I've got them higher. I think it would be incredibly rough to put them lower, even though I can see a world where it does happen because their halves are a shambles. Their fullback is brand new, but also worked elsewhere. I don't know if he'll work at the Warriors and tomorrow Martin. And their 9 is, okay. Their forwards need to do better. Adam Fanor Blake is the guy there, and Tol Harris, but there's I need to see more from the forwards, where the Warriors are usually known as a forwards team, and the backs are just very, very. So I don't know. I could see them in a very similar position, but I will go a little bit higher based on a home ground advantage. But it's not going to be crazy, crazy higher for that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be crazy high, but keen to see what the Warriors can do with more home games. Hopefully, they get good crowd showing up as well. The Tigers finished last. Obviously, they've gone on a bit of a signing spree. Coruscant and Papali'i, they stick out to me. There's no way they finish second last with those two in the team. It's as simple as that. Bateman as well, massive. I'm not saying the Tigers are going to go on some crazy run and finish in the top 8 or 9th or 10th, but they're not finishing 16th, and they're not getting the wooden spoon in my opinion. So therefore, I have to say they will finish higher.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, and I'll say when I was speaking to Random Stats Guy the other day, this was he's smoky for the top 8. He said that, and I said, mate, we've been on here long enough now. There's no more talking, because if we've got the Tigers in the top 8, that's me done for rugby league. Look, I think that they're up. They're definitely up. They've got a great forward pack, but my God, their back line is a little bit depressing to actually look at. It's the back line that brings them down. If their forward pack had a decent enough back line, yeah, I'd probably chuck them in for a competitive team to get 8th, maybe even 7th if they were able to sort their back line out. But they've still got Luke Brooks and Dewey as their halves partners. The fullback Dan Laurie didn't really live up to expectations last year, and their centers and wingers are all over the shop, man, all over the shop, especially defensively. So I'll go up. I think it's up by man, a very hard team to read. Very hard team to read. There is a world they finish in the exact same position, but I think they'll go higher for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Look, they were the Wooden Spooners, so we just have to talk about the new team coming in, and you can start. They're closer to you geographically than they are closer to me, despite removing the name of Redcliffe. We won't talk about our thoughts of them joining the comp, because I think we could probably do that another time. But where do you think they will finish, and why?
So on a basis of top 8, bottom 8, I would say bottom 8. I think that they're probably still going to be a bottom 4 team, to be completely honest with you. They've got, experience, but they've also got youth, but there's nothing really special about it. If they give Isaiah Katoa a crack in the heart, someone like Sean O'Sullivan, I can see them going a little bit better, but he's also just a rookie that we're basing that off. Hamiso needs to have a bigger year after the Cowboys fiasco, you would say. Marshall King, just every position is okay. There's no real stellar star there, and that was the whole thing, that they didn't get Callum Ponga. Didn't get who was the other one? Or Ben Hunt was another one they were trying to go to.
They tried Latrell Cody.
Latrell Cody. See, that's the thing. They didn't get anybody that they actually wanted. So. Look, I think that they will be. It's Wayne Bennett though as the coach. I'm going to go bottom 4, but overall, they are just simply ridiculously hard to read, because we have no idea.
Yeah, super hard to read. I've got them bottom 4 as well, but I don't have them for the wooden spoon. I think a team coached by Wayne Bennett, you avoid the wooden spoon automatically.
100%.
A lot of people, agree with me. That disagree.
I will disagree, because didn't he get the wooden spoon with the Knights?
With the Knights one year, and look what he did to the club. And I feel like the Dolphins are in a better position than what that Knights team was. So the fact that he's been there now, especially with the experience since that time with the Knights, I don't see him getting the wooden spoon. I think it's a free pass off it. We'll see how they go. I've got them finishing bottom 4. If they finish anywhere higher than the bottom 4, that's probably like the season most successful start to a season.
I will quickly put this out there for every other team. If you finish below the Dolphins, and Titans included, absolutely Titans included, if any team finishes below the Dolphins this year, you should feel embarrassed. You should honestly
go to reserve grade.
You should go to reserve grade, unless you're Titans. Please don't go to reserve grade. But based off of the fact they're a brand new team, whatnot. But then again, when the Titans came in 2007, they actually were very competitive for the first 2007, 08, 9, and 2010. They made the prelim. They were up and up and up and up and up. So maybe the new factor, the X factor of a new team comes in, and they can do all right. But I've got them bottom 4 for now. Yeah,
bottom 4 for now. All right, well, perfect. That's our higher and lower wrapped up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I mean, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to our channel. We're obviously building up our channel. BKR Sport, massive on YouTube. Head to his channel, subscribe, and I'll leave us with a message for the charity match. But I'll let you go first, BKR Sport. Anything you want to say? Any channel updates or anything?
No, I appreciate you for coming on. Obviously, I also appreciate you for coming on. I'm so used to saying that in regards to mine. No, I appreciate coming on here, man. And no, it was good to chat about where we're thinking about where the teams are going to be. Yeah, no, obviously we're doing team makers and whatnot that you're involved in. We do the halfbacks team maker with the Sports Shed TV as well. So yeah, come and check it out if you haven't already. You stream most of the games. But what I'm looking forward to most, mate, is this charity match. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the charity match too. It's going to be massive. 25th of February. It's a Saturday. Lidcombe Oval, 4 p.m. Doesn't get better than that. Come down. Tickets only like $10. The link's in our bio on Instagram, TikTok. You can find it anywhere, really. It's going to be an awesome event. So we're raising money for two very deserving charities, the Ronald McDonald House Charities, Greater Western Sydney, and also the Marquise Foundation. So come watch your favorite content creators, have a run around.
And also as well, just on that, guys, hit that subscribe button, because for us to be able to live stream the event, then we need to have 1,000 subscribers to be able to do that, and also to be able to earn money for these massive charities. These fantastic charities, to be able to donate to them through the stream or whatnot. We need to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you could do that, hit that subscribe button, let all your friends know, and then we can there'll be a live stream if we can get to that point.
Yep, and there's plenty more news to come around that. So hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for coming on and for watching, and thank you BKR Sport for joining us.
Thanks, man.